Good morning and welcome to beautiful Belfast. It's really wonderful to have you with us today here on GB News. Welcome back to Belfast. We're here today for the 12th of July Parade. I'm joined here with Dr. Gavin Hughes, and we're also going to be chatting to Dougie and Beattie. Well, Gavin, here we are in Belfast today. It was County Armagh last year.
It was indeed, Arlene.
But here we are in Belfast. And what do we expect to see today?
Well, today we'll see the Belfast parades, the County Grand Lodge of Belfast, and all the districts, the 9 districts, it's one amalgamated district, and that will be heading the parade. Hopefully we'll be starting off on Clifton Street, Orange Hall, around about 10 o'clock or so.
And Gavin, you're going to be with me throughout the parade to give some historical context and also some contemporary comment as well, I hope.
Absolutely.
Good. Well, now let's go to GB News Northern Ireland reporter Dougie Beattie, who's joined by actor and all-around nice guy, Northern Ireland man, commentator Charlie Lawson. Good morning, boys.
Good morning, Arlene.
Good morning, Arlene. How are you?
I'm good,
we're
I'm
here
good.
in
What are you
Donegal
two
Road.
up to?
We're here in the Donegal Road, and we've joined a lodge and a band up here who are having their breakfast. Charlie, tell us a little bit about this area.
Well, it's a rather unsung area, I feel, and it's great to be back at the Barrington. The last time I was here, I was actually working behind the bar for a bit of a gig, so it's lovely to be with the lads here. And I believe you're going to talk to some of the fellas from Sussex and just give us a wee bit of a reason why they're here, etc., etc. A lot of people don't realise there are many lodges throughout the world, and we'll hopefully be sharing some of that with you today. Over to you, Dougie.
Yes, well, hello, and as I say, there is some lodges here. It's a great family atmosphere, especially in a place like this. They're getting a few cheers, Arlene. They were all waving their dry bops on their breakfast at you. Look at this. They're all having their breakfast. Marvellous, marvellous. But yes, joining them here is one of the lodges from Sussex. I'll just introduce him now. Tell us, how have you managed to arrive here?
We flew yesterday for the 11th night. Yeah, we're just here with our brothers and sisters from Ulster. Yeah, just to support them and be here and make sure that this great tradition doesn't die.
Yes, Orangeism seems to be right throughout the UK, and it's not heard of so much because, of course, the political side of the Williamites was in London, but the real battles were fought in Scotland and in Ireland. And how do you think that has worked out through the centuries?
It's great. I mean, we're actually part of the Sussex Martyrs Memorial, which is based in Eastbourne. We actually commemorate the guys who died under Queen Mary, and we're the ones who sort of like keep that memory alive. And we're part of the Lewis Bonfire Society. We sort of support them as well. So it's all part of the whole tradition of what happens in Sussex. I mean, Sussex and the World War I and everything that goes on is a massive tradition that we need to maintain.
Brilliant. And of course, here we have one of the members of the local lodge. And if you just stand back, we can just see the banner there in behind us. And tell us a little bit about this banner.
Our banner has Lord Carson on it. We're going over 100 years. Just before the Lord Carson, we had a banner, was Lieutenant McLaren was on our banner. He was an officer, was killed. He fought in the Somme, and he was killed the year after that in 1917, and he was on our banner. He was on our banner, you know.
Well, there you go, Arlene. So the lodge is getting ready to set off with the band, and they will head for the city centre, the cenotaph, and then up beside yous in just where yous are in Bedford Street. So from Charlie and I and the rest of us here.
Yeah, we'll see you later, Arlene. See you later. We're on our way.
We are coming.
Well, it's good to see the boys. It's good to see the boys having good fun there over on the Donegal Road. And as I said earlier, I'm joined by Dr. Gavin Hughes, who's going to be with me throughout the programme. Gavin, the start of the day, the start of a long day here in Belfast.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the route of the Belfast Parade.
Well, the route starts at Belfast Orange Hall, Clifton Street. It'll go to Carlisle Circus. It starts around about 10 o'clock. The main focus will be going down Royal Avenue. to the cenotaph here for the service at 10:30. And then pretty much the entire route is about 6.4 miles all the way to South Belfast and Barnett's Domain, where the field is, where the whole parade will assemble and listen to the various kind of resolutions. But those won't come until much later this afternoon.
And those resolutions are pretty traditional. They're usually on faith and loyalty and the state. The
Yes.
titles don't change. The wording might change
No.
during each year. But it is important that we remember that the idea of this parade is to go to a religious service in the field.
It is. And that, of course, is part of the original tenet of the Orange institution, is the faith. And, of course, that's very important to today's proceedings. Equally so is the term of loyalty, and of course with the passing of Her late Majesty,
Yes,
it'll be confirming and reaffirming loyalty to King Charles. And then of course it'll be discussing in the state section about what the state of the country is and all things from an Orange institution perspective.
And I would imagine the Northern Ireland Protocol and the Windsor Framework will get a little
I think that'll
mention
be
there.
front and centre.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely today. So, of course, last night was the beginning of the celebrations. There were a lot of bonfires. We
Yes.
could see them right across Belfast last night. But Dougie and Charlie made a little trip last evening and they went down to Kilkeel. And let's go and see how they got on.
Well, we're here in Kilkeel. We've been invited down to the festival here, the Schomburg Festival. And Charlie, what do you think it's all about?
Well, we're going to learn. We've got two wonderful people here from Canada, which is a great thing as well. Shows you how international the whole day is. What are we doing here? Tell us.
Hi.
And you've got
Mark and Amy Aiken from Canada. We're pressed for time here, but we're pouring the Boyne water to signify King William's crossing of the Boyne in the battle 1690. And we're doing the reenactment here really quickly.
do that now.
Okay, off yous go. So here we are. So they're going backwards so as they don't get their feet wet. And you can see what's happening there. You just get a shot of the horses in there behind. And there you are, they've reached the other side of the road. And really, that is very much the start of this parade. And it will go on behind us. As you can see, they'll just pass us now. And Charlie has definitely made his mark in Kilkeel. We'll see what happens later on. Well, here we are, Charlie. I can't believe it's been a year since we've been doing this type of stuff.
I know.
Have you ever lit a bonfire before?
Several times.
Well, we're here in Kilkeel at the Schomburg Festival. Brilliant family fun night, and Charlie Lawson is about to light the bonfire. Charlie, off you go.
Here we go, and here's my assistant. Isn't she beautiful?
Here we go.
Where would you like me to put this?
Side of here,
Round
Charlie.
the back. Mind your head. So we're just going to go round the back. Follow us round here, Stevie.
Charlie, put her up there, look.
Just anywhere here.
See that bit of straw up there?
Where are we?
Just up there in front of you.
I got you now.
Yeah.
There we are, folks. Mr. Lundy.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
There's another bit just round there. Get him going there too.
The official start of the 12th of July. It is now well underway, and you will see us both tomorrow morning in Belfast. But from here in Kilkeel, good night.
So that was Charlie and Dougie down in Kilkeel at the Schomburg Festival, where they had a great night, apparently. So I'm going to come back to you, Gavin, because what they were doing there was lighting the bonfires. Tell us about the significance of bonfires.
Well, that's very interesting, Arlene, because in Britain and Ireland there is a great tradition of bonfires heralding like sort of the beacons of alarm and notification, and of course they date back to the 17th century. Particularly in the Orange tradition and the Northern Irish tradition, bonfires are very important because they were lit to guide King William's ship in towards Carrickfergus. So the very first, the beacons were set alight along the coastline so that the Williamite could see where the approaches and the safe approaches into Carrickfergus were. So that is where it starts. You can see a wonderful evolution of the tradition beginning, because obviously beacons were quite small. And of course now we have a tradition where you build a very large bonfire, which of course, you know, sort of is part and parcel. I think Craigymore. Ballycraigie,
yes.
Just out Ballan, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct.
And of course they were building that for charity, I think, wasn't it?
Yes, they raised money for charity, and they wanted to be the largest bonfire, I think, in the world, not just in Northern Ireland. And of course it was lit last night as well. But as you say, there's a lot of smaller bonfires
throughout the province,
throughout Northern Ireland.
And of course this all dates back, as I say, to the 17th century, and in particular the practice of welcoming William and guiding William across the Irish Sea.
Yeah, and throughout the programme we're going to have little snippets telling us about the history and the significance of different parts of the celebration today. We've seen Lundy on the bonfire there. What's all that about?
Now, that refers to Governor Robert Lundy, Lieutenant Colonel Robert Lundy, who, of course, when during the siege of Derry, decided to open the gates. So the apprentice boys go and close the gates, and the siege, 105-day-long siege of Derry begins. And of course, that is pivotal in the whole glorious revolution, because it's the first sign of practical Protestant opposition in Ireland to the reign of King James II. And that is where Lundy is, because of course he is a royal governor, and the whole cause of the borough of burghers of Londonderry, whether some of them wanted to open the gates, some of them didn't want to open the gates because it's your king. So there's all of that kind of some controversy as well. But these apprentice boys, young lads, decided they were going to take matters into their own hands, and they closed the gates. And because they closed the gates, Londonderry became a symbol, like as Enniskillen was, at the same time in 1689. So that's pretty much, whenever that ends up, the breaking of the boom of Londonderry is another thing you'll see on the banners reflected today. So we'll see the Siege of Londonderry, the relief of Londonderry, as well as Boyne and Aughrim images.
And I was reflecting, Gavin, we'll see a lot of historical banners today, there's no doubt about that, but we'll also see banners reflecting on faith and reflecting on the monarchy. So there are some previous monarchs that will be there, and indeed our late Majesty the Queen has already been put onto a banner, and we'll see that later on today.
Well, that's right, Arlene. In fact, actually, hopefully we'll be able to catch that as they come past. That's Coote Memorial, 1921 LOL. They were a lodge that was formed in 1870 from the 14th Regiment of Foot, and you'll notice that's the Bedfordshire Regiment. That's another link that the Orange Institution has with the British Army, and in particular the military and the Navy. You'll see all these links demonstrated through the bands and the lodges today.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. And as you know, Dougie and I went to Rasnaula at the weekend, where they have the 12th celebration in the Republic of Ireland. We had a wonderful day there. So let's go and see the 12th celebration in County Donegal.
Well, the day is our annual 12th for the border counties, Cavan, Monaghan, Donegal and Leitrim. And it's been on for a long time, back in the early part of the century. Well, it's held as the number of lodges is still the same as it was, say, about 40 or 50 years ago. And some of them seems to be increasing. And we have one new band formed. The year lodge has formed a new band.
District Master David Mahan painting a clear picture as to the health of the Orange institutions over and on the border. But the annual outing to the beautiful seaside town of Rasnaula in Donegal gives a real holiday feel to the celebrations.
It's an absolutely great, fun family day out. We've come to Rossnowla probably quite a lot throughout our lifetime, and I've been able to bring the kids with me and my mum. So it's really much a family day, and it's great to see all the bands from all the different counties between North and South of Ireland.
Great, it's lovely, and the good weather's good as well, and it makes it better. So it is. We only live across the border at Cash, and we're having a good day.
Well, Arlene, it has been one fantastic day. The weather has held off for us. What was your memories of Rossnowla growing up?
Well, I live in County Fermanagh, which is the neighbouring county to County Donegal, so this is something I would have come to all of the time in my younger days, and we would have really looked forward to County Donegal because not only was it the bands and the lodges, but we've got the sea as well and people out walking along the beach. It's always been a very special day.
Well, she may have been out walking along the beach and having ice cream. I had none, I've been working.
Come on, I'll get you one. So that was our day in Rossnowla in County Donegal, and it is true that the Orange Institution exists right across the island of Ireland. Isn't that right, Gavin? Because there are lodges in all, particularly the border counties.
Well, that's it, and a place you know very well in Fermanagh, the Fermanagh demonstration in Ballinamallard today, that will have lodges from Monaghan and Cavan taking part in the proceedings. And also an awful lot of cross-border tourists will come across to Ballinamallard and, of course, the border counties as well. But it is important to stress the international flavour of the Orange Institution's sort of reach, if you like.
Yeah, we saw some people from Canada there in the Kilkeel package.
Well, it's funny you should mention about Kilkeel because Kilkeel has a very strong link with Canada, especially with, I'm going to bore you with a bit of Great War kind of history here.
Please do.
Company Sergeant Major Robert Hanna, who won the Victoria Cross, was a man from Ochnahurry, which is just outside Kilkeel. And, of course, he was brought back, when he got the Victoria Cross, he was brought back to the demonstration in 1918 to address the field in Kilkeel. And he served with the Canadian Expeditionary Force. So, again, and there's a lot of Canadian links, a lot of Canadian visitors and tourists to the province at the moment. And, of course, Orange links with Ghana, and with Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see some international visitors here today in Belfast. But as we said earlier, it's not just here in Northern Ireland where processions are taking place. Let's go now to Theo Chikumba, who's our GBNews national reporter. He's at the celebrations in Liverpool.
Yes, well, a very good morning to you. Hopefully you can hear me, but the marching band, if you could just look over my right shoulder, is just approaching us in the centre of Liverpool. Lots of people behind the camera and on these streets all wearing orange. So it's a tasty affair here. Lots of people here in the centre of Liverpool, and they'll be here before making their way over to Southport. If we can just get a bit closer to them. What we can see is lots of people here with bagpipes, wearing lots of orange. We saw some of these people preparing this morning at one of the lodges, which is just a few miles from the town here in Liverpool, and some of those you can see them there. Steve, who we spoke to this morning, along some of the members who are also there. Some young people as well who are involved. We can see lots of them in the background, some young men as well with some instruments. So yes, the music's quite loud now. We'll just let you get a bit of that. So as you can see, lots of young people, some wearing purple, orange, and others who have come here to remember those who have also lost their lives, which they've done this morning. But in the centre of Liverpool here, this is all about celebrating the 12th, and that's something they're going to be doing throughout the day here in Liverpool. It's just one of the locations here in the UK. So yes, plenty of people here in the centre of Liverpool.
So a huge thanks to Theo up there in Liverpool, and it's wonderful to see the parade there has already started. Throughout the programme, we're going to bring you pieces to explain the significance of the Battle of the Boyne and what it means for the United Kingdom today. Our first report from Dougie Beattie takes us to Holland.
The Glorious Revolution really is the most pivotal moment in our history within the British Isles. It creates a new constitutional settlement, and it has many layers to it as part of a wider European conflict, the balance of power of Europe. It's part of a civil war, essentially, for the throne here in the British Isles, and it's also hides a number of family disputes. The key characters are really the monarchs of the period. You have King Louis XIV of France, the Sun King, the last real, absolute, powerful monarch in Europe. And on the other side, you have William, Prince of Orange, who's his main adversary in Europe. And he is married to the daughter of James, Duke of York, who becomes James II. And those are the four really key characters that will help drive what takes place between 1688 and 1691. Pope Innocent is concerned that Louis is trying to supplant him with his own nomination for Pope, and as a consequence of that, he ends up secretly backing William, Prince of Orange in his campaigns against Louis of France.
It was in streets such as this through Rotterdam and The Hague where coffee shops were aplenty, and King William's men met with those of the Whigs and the Tory party that were offering the throne of England to William and Mary, should it become vacant. This would be the foundations not only of the UK, but the Glorious Revolution.
The Hague and Amsterdam and other major Dutch cities become places of intrigue, and James knows this. James has faced opposition. There was a rebellion in 1685 to his accession by the illegitimate son of Charles II, the Duke of Monmouth, which is brutally put down. And there are discussions with advisors to William's court about the prospect that if James, through his, if you like, arbitrary expansion of monarchical power, oversteps the mark and breaks the contract between government and the people, then he could be removed. And if that were to happen, would William, Prince of Orange, come and be the liberator, essentially, of the British Isles? William will arrive in Brixham in the Torbay area of England. There's a huge fear at the time that the Navy, which remains loyal to James II, will actually go out and face down the Dutch as William is trying to land. But it's seen as very providential, and the evangelical Protestant press painted as such afterwards that the weather changes. And he lands in Torbay and at Brixham and comes ashore, and indeed he has equipped to one of those exiled sort of soldier clerics that had been with him, a man called Dr. Burnett from Scotland, and he quips to him, well, Dr. Burnett, what do you think of predestination now? So effectively the weather turning allows the Dutch to arrive without a battle with the English. The Royal Navy is kept in port. William lands. He marches slowly towards London, gathering support, and essentially the country rises. James's advisors, James's military leaders all melt away, including the very significant John Churchill, later, of course, of Blenheim fame. And as a consequence of that, James's cause falls apart and he's forced to flee.
So that's the first of our packages explaining the significance of the Battle of the Boyne and why it's important not just for Northern Ireland but actually the whole of the UK and Europe. And Dr. Gavin Hughes is continuing to be with me. Gavin, it was lovely to see that parade in Liverpool earlier, wasn't it?
It was, absolutely. And of course the interesting thing about the Liverpool parade is it has certain features which we won't see here today. We saw some of the pipe bands and the kilts on display. We will not necessarily see pipe bands because this is mainly a flute melody parade. But we do have lots of Scots bands on display today.
Yes,
So
indeed. I understand there are bands from Rutherglen, just outside Glasgow. Govan Protestant Boys will be
That's
here as
right,
well at the
yes.
beginning of the parade. So it'll be good to see those bands coming across from Scotland and being with us here in Belfast. Well, the crowd's beginning to gather here. Gavin, it's getting a little bit noisier, but I hope everyone is able to hear us here live from Belfast. Still to come, we'll continue with our coverage of the 12th of July celebrations here on GB News. I hope you can stay with us.
A brighter outlook with Boxed Solar. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Greg Dewhurst and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. The day ahead is a mixture of sunny spells and scattered showers. Some of these will be heavy at times and temperatures near average for the time of year. To the best of the sunshine first thing this morning across southeast England, but showers quickly spreading to all areas as we move through the day. Some of the showers could be heavy at times, the risk of some hail and thunder, particularly across northern England into Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland as well. There will be some parts that stay dry all day, but I expect most places will catch a shower. Feeling quite cool where we have a keen breeze around the coast, temperatures in the high teens to low 20s, perhaps 23 or 24 as a maximum temperature towards the far southeast. Through into the evening time, further showers across many areas, though they tend to become more well scattered as we head into the early hours, allowing for clearer spells to develop. But just notice there will be still some showers that carry on through the night. In terms of temperatures, generally a little lower than they have been, 13 or 14 to start Thursday morning. So a bright start for many, but scattered showers from the word go. Some of them will be heavy at times, and through the day, a mixture of sunny spells and showers. Showers hopefully less frequent, less heavy compared to the last few days, but some of them could be on the sharp side at times. Quite a bit of Wales, the Midlands could stay dry all day. Showers generally further north and further south across the UK. In the best of the sunshine, temperatures again up into the low 20s, a little cooler around the coasts.
A brighter outlook with Boxed Solar. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's 10 a.m. on Wednesday, the 12th of July. You're welcome back to beautiful Belfast here in Northern Ireland, where we're coming to you live, broadcasting the 12th of July celebrations here on GB News. Dr. Gavin Hughes is still with me, as well as GB News reporter Dougie Beattie and the one and only Charlie Lawson, soaking up the atmosphere on the streets here in Belfast. But before all of that, before we get into the festivities, here's your morning news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Arlene, thank you very much and good morning. This is the latest from the GB newsroom. Pressures mounting on the BBC with fresh allegations against an unnamed presenter. Several high-profile figures are now calling for them to come forward for the good of his colleagues at the corporation. Our Home and Security editor, Mark White, is at Broadcasting House. Mark, what can you tell us?
Well, a couple of developments to report just in the last hour. John Sopel, a former BBC presenter until recently, now doing podcasts for the Global Radio Network, has said that the unnamed presenter at the centre of these allegations is extremely angry, that they believe that the Sun is out to dig the dirt and find more revelations to damage his reputation. But at the same time, we've had another BBC presenter, Jeremy Vine, on his Channel 5 show this morning, reiterating that he believes this presenter should come forward now, that all of these revelations are extremely damaging to the corporation, that there's a great deal of anger here at the BBC, and as however difficult it is, it clearly is, it is time for this presenter, this unnamed presenter, to come forward and speak publicly.
Mark, thank you very much. That's our Home and Security editor, Mark White, there at Broadcasting House with the latest. The Bank of England are warning nearly 1 million mortgage holders in the UK will see their monthly repayments jump by £500 or more by the end of 2026. Mortgage rates have now hit their highest level in 15 years, surpassing figures seen in the aftermath of last year's mini-budget. The central bank says the UK's 8 major banks are sturdy enough to handle a fresh economic crisis. It also said that the country has so far been resilient to rapidly rising interest rates. But some households and firms may struggle with repayments on loans. Ukraine's President Zelensky has arrived at the NATO summit to meet leaders, and as the gathering's second day continues, he's held talks with the Prime Minister and will join leaders for an inaugural session of the NATO-Ukraine Council, as the day after they confirmed his country will become a member of the alliance. All members of the G7 are set to sign a long-term security arrangement with Ukraine later on that Rishi Sunak says has the potential to return peace to Europe. President Zelensky will also meet with his US counterpart Joe Biden as he seeks more arms and ammunition from the US. He spoke of his priorities at the summit.
I think the invitation to NATO, and we want to be on the same page with everybody, with all the understanding. And for today, what we hear and understand that we'll have this invitation when security measures will allow. Yes, so I want to discuss with our partners all these things, and the sword will speak today and fight for this. Its security guarantees.
Now, a 15-year-old boy is appearing in court today accused of attempted wounding with intent and possession of a bladed article after a teacher was stabbed in Gloucestershire. Jamie Sansom was injured at Tewkesbury Academy on Monday. The secondary school was put into temporary lockdown along with 2 neighbouring schools following the incident. Police say they don't believe it was terror-related. Ambulance bosses have apologised to families after staff were accused of covering up errors when patients died. An independent review has been completed into why the North East Ambulance Service did not give some relatives a full explanation following the death of a loved one if mistakes were made. It highlighted the case of a 17-year-old. A paramedic had declared her dead rather than trying to perform CPR. The North East Ambulance Service's chief executive, Helen Ray, expressed her sorrow.
I'm really deeply sorry to the 4 families. They have been very brave and engaging with the independent review. As an organisation, we let them down at a point in time when they really needed us. And you know, as a mum, as a daughter, as a mother, I'm really deeply sorry for that. And we hope that the lessons that we have taken will be of some assurance to those families.
Environmental regulators will be able to charge polluters unlimited penalties for causing damage. The government says the current limit of £250,000 is to be scrapped following a consultation with widespread public support. It means the Environment Agency and Natural England can now impose large fines without having to go through lengthy criminal prosecutions. And finally, a first edition copy of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit has been sold for over £10,000. It's after being discovered by chance in a Scottish charity shop. The rare copy of the famous book, which follows the adventures of Bilbo Baggins, was found by a manager at the Cancer Research UK superstore in Dundee. This is GB News. We'll bring you more news as it happens.
Welcome back to our special 12th of July celebrations here on GB News. Dr. Gavin Hughes is still with me. Gavin, we can hear the band starting to ramp up now.
Good morning, Arlene.
It's
yes,
good
we
to
can.
have you with us, and the crowds are gathering here to watch the parade. The atmosphere is really building, isn't it?
Well, it is, and funny enough, I just heard the strains of Goodbye Dolly Gray, which is an old Boer War song. God, it's such good, just in the distance there.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, the crowds are beginning to gather here. County Grand Lodge will have just left Carlisle Circus about 10 o'clock there, on their way to the Cenotaph.
And that's in the north of Belfast.
It is indeed, yes. And that will be proceeding all the way down towards the Cenotaph, which is literally just down the road there.
Literally beside us here.
It is indeed, which is a very, very important part of today's events.
Yes,
So.
yes, indeed. Well, throughout the programme, we've been looking at the story of the Battle of the Boyne and why it's so important. So let's go now to our second piece, which brings us to this part of the world and the Siege of Derry.
Londonderry becomes the big strategic engagement of the war in Ireland. When James is allowed to escape to France, William hopes that he'll stay on the continent. Louis doesn't allow that. Louis is keen to support James to retake his throne, and Ireland becomes very important. In the years of political intrigue, a man called Richard Talbot, who had become Lord Lieutenant of Ireland, had tried to secure Ireland as effectively a Jacobite fortress for James if he should need it. He has created a standing army of about 20,000 men. He has dismissed Protestants from the town corporations, trying to seize control of the administrative side of Ireland. And when James lands in Ireland, his main aim is to get off the island and bring his forces to Scotland, where James Graham of Claverhouse, Bonnie Dundee, has raised a small but very effective Jacobite force. And so the strategic objective is capture a deep water port. And the Jacobites decide on Londonderry, and they move their forces towards the northwest of Ulster, and to try and lay siege and then capture that deep water port. In December of 1688, 13 young apprentices seized the keys to the gates of the city and close it in the face of James's advancing troops. And you effectively have almost two sieges for Londonderry. You have that informal period in which the Jacobites are strengthening their own position, and then the real siege begins in April the following year.
On April 18th, 1689, James II, with his French and Irish Jacobite army, demanded access to the city of Londonderry. He was refused, which started a siege that lasted over 105 days and left over 8,000 dead.
There are a couple of attempts to try and relieve the city, but nothing really breaks through until August of 1689, and you have the arrival of the relief fleet under Major General Percy Kirk. And there's a very famous, obviously, incident takes place when one of the ships, the Mountjoy, charges and breaks the boom that is across the foil, eventually, after a little bit of engagement with shore batteries, and relieves the city. The main failure of the Jacobites at that time had been their lack of big guns and mortars. They didn't expect the garrison to hold out, they didn't expect a long siege, so they didn't bring a lot of heavy artillery to Londonderry, and as a consequence the defenders were very fortunate and were able to hold out with a little bit of courage and stiff resolve. So Londonderry is a strategic failure for the Jacobites because James cannot get out of Ireland and his troops are trapped there. And this will determine then the course of the Glorious Revolution, because the campaign or the war will be based in Ireland.
Dr. Jonathan Madison explaining the significance of the Siege of Derry, that everybody who lives in Northern Ireland knows about the very important element. It's good to see you two boys, the importance of the Siege of Derry, but it's good to hear it explained today, isn't it?
It is, and it's very useful to have somebody like Dr. Madison explaining exactly the importance of the Siege of Derry. I mean, on the coat of arms, it is a skeleton,
yes,
which actually shows you how important and what a legacy that the siege actually had on the people of Londonderry. In fact, I can tell you a small thing that, the price and scarcity of food during the siege, obviously the prices skyrocketed, so the cost of a mouse was sixpence if you wanted to eat it. A mouse, sixpence.
Yeah.
And it went all the way up to bits of cats and dogs and goodness knows what else. So, I mean, they really had to, it was a siege, and a proper 17th century siege where the mortar shell was casted to say, if you don't surrender, fully expect a rampaging Jacobite army, and the Red Shanks are coming, and basically, to explain to our audience, the Red Shanks were the Highland troops that the Protestant Presbyterian settlers in Londonderry were absolutely terrified of. They had a terrible reputation. And actually, they were supposed to be part of King James's official army. They were raised by Talbot, but they were given very they weren't properly equipped, and they had a very fearsome reputation. But it's interesting also to see that with the Siege of Londonderry, that has cast a very long shadow.
Yes.
But the breaking of the boom is very important, because that allows Marshal Schomberg to bring his Williamite troops across to Ulster. They land in Groomsport, and his base is literally just outside Belfast.
Well, I think we're going to see a little package on that later on with the arrival of Schomberg. We've just had a little bit of what we call here in Northern Ireland soft rain, in Belfast. But we're now going to go over to our reporter, Theo Chicombo, who's in Liverpool. Theo, bring us up to date with what the celebrations are there.
Yes, well, here in Liverpool, celebrations have already kicked off. We've just seen marching bands, young children alongside their parents, and many other members of the lodge as well. Lots of them, I'd say over 1,000 probably, were there. Now they are making their way towards Southport to meet many other lodges here in the northeast as well. Several thousand people are expected to be meeting up this morning and into the early afternoon. But this morning I'm kindly joined by Ron. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. So just tell me a bit of your background and when you joined.
I joined as a very young child, joined the junior lodge, became active at 5 years of age, went through into the adults back in the late 60s, and been in the institution for over 53 years.
And what does it mean to you?
It means everything to me. It's celebrating our heritage, our religion. Really, what we stand for is civil and religious liberty for all. Not for individuals, but for everyone. We're often mistaken that we're bigoted, but we're not bigoted. Everyone who you've seen walking today would know a neighbour who was a Roman Catholic, a workmate who was a Roman Catholic, a friend is a Roman Catholic. But we have our traditions, we support the Protestant religion, the Reformation principles, and we're proud to do so.
We've seen all the people who've been here in Liverpool this morning, and you'll be spending the rest of the day with them. Young people as well involved. This is for everybody, isn't it?
Yes, it's for everyone. Everyone indeed. And you'll see the effort that's gone into the costumes on some of the youngsters where they're depicting King William and Queen Mary. We actively encourage the youngsters to get involved at every level. And it's not just in England that we're parading today. We'll be parading throughout the world, in Toronto in Canada, other states in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland had the parade last Saturday, and there'll be functions in America, and even there'll be parades in Ghana and Togo celebrating the Battle of the Boyne.
So it's not just here, it's across the world as well. During your time, what changes have you seen in the membership as well?
Well, everything has evolved, some for the better and some for the worst. Years ago, it was a lot easier to get off your workplace to come on the 12th of July. Nowadays, because of work patterns, it's a lot harder. There would have been a lot more people today if we would have been in a situation we would have been in the 60s and the 70s. But we make do with what we got, and the people enjoy themselves, whether they're working or they're coming to nights or functions.
And finally, how much have you been looking forward to today?
Well, this is the highlight of the year. There's nothing better from my point of view. And as I've said in the past, so long as there's a 12th of July in the calendar, we will walk on the 12th of July celebrating the Battle of the Boyne.
Ron, thank you so much for your time this morning. Well, as you heard from him, people are finding it a bit more difficult in terms of flexibility, getting time off work, off school. But if you just see the number of people here this morning, you can see just how much it means for them to be here today.
Theo, thank you so much, and welcome back to Belfast. We've been to Liverpool, we've been to Rosnowlan, County Donegal, we've been to Kilkeel, and now we're here in Belfast with Dr. Gavin Hughes. It's just wonderful to hear from the Grand Master there about the traditions of Orangeism in England, because I think a lot of our viewers and listeners today won't know about that.
That's right, and of course what was happening in Liverpool is very much mirrored across the province here today, and what's happening here in the province is mirrored across in Liverpool. What we noticed earlier was, of course, the presence of the Women's Orange Association.
Yes.
And of course, that's a very strong presence, and we'll see a lot of the lodges and the districts here in the Belfast Parade today as well. Of course, that can stretch its history right back to 1912. And it's fascinating to see that what happens in Liverpool happens here and will be happening in Glasgow, and anywhere the 12th is being celebrated.
Yes, so I was talking to some of the people from Scotland earlier on this morning before we came on air, and they were explaining to me that there are 4 demonstrations in Scotland. They have taken place already. They usually take place on a Saturday before the 12th of July. So they're in Glasgow, they're in central Scotland, they're in the east of Scotland, and they're in Ayrshire.
Yes.
So Orangeism is quite strong in Scotland, isn't it?
It is, and to use a Scots word for what's happening at the moment, it's a bit dreich.
It's a bit dreich.
It's a bit dreich.
A bit soft.
A bit soft, you know. But no, it's important to say how I think sort of blossoming the Orange Institution is becoming in Scotland at the moment.
Yeah. And as well as the Women's Association, the junior Orange lodges are very strong as well. Both boys and girls would probably see that on parade today as well, won't we?
Definitely. And sometimes you will see, if our audience is looking and say, well, why are there children marching in the spirit? That is the junior organisation. And a lot, it stresses the family nature, I think, of the lodge, really.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly we see that in the rural country 12s,
yes.
Very much so.
I just had a message from somebody in County Fermanagh telling me that some of the Orange men were arriving by boat in Lough Erne today, so that's wonderful to talk about today. But still to come, we'll head out to speak to Dougie Beattie and Charlie Lawson, who are out with the crowd celebrating here in Belfast. Welcome back to Belfast. It's a little bit soft here. In other words, we have a little bit of light rain here at the moment, but we think it's going to clear. I'm joined, of course, by my good friend Dr. Gavin Hughes. We've been talking about the history of what brought us to this point, but I thought I'd also read out some of your views. You've been very good about getting in touch with us. So Maud is saying she is thoroughly enjoying the coverage this morning with Baroness Arlene, Dougie, Charlie and Gavin. Absolutely top presenting team. Thank you, Maud. And so good to see Northern Ireland being represented well. Liz says that she's really enjoying the coverage, especially the history. Great to see this often forgotten part of the UK. Tim is saying superb coverage. Thanks, Tim, for joining us today. So interesting and good history. A lot of people enjoying the history, Gavin, which is music to your ears, of course. And Helen's saying, I just want to say how interesting I'm finding this morning's programme about the July 12th parades. Living in England and without any connections to Northern Ireland, I've only seen snippets of the coverage on the mainstream media over the years, which have tended to focus on the conflict between Protestants and Catholics in Northern Ireland rather than the history of the event and the celebration of the community. So I think what people are enjoying is what's the background to the 12th of July, and we're trying to provide that this morning, Gavin.
I think that's it, Arlene, because it's sometimes, it's difficult to present how goes on today, on an international media scale in a snippet of 2 minutes or so. It's very, very difficult. And you can actually see people coming here to enjoy themselves. Well, why do people come here to enjoy it? And hopefully we'll be able to present an idea of exactly why that's the case.
Well, I know two people who always enjoy themselves, and that's Dougie Beattie and Charlie Lawson. Let's go out and about and see what they're up to this morning. Good morning, boys.
Good morning and welcome to a very sombre part of this parade. Of course, this is the lane of the wreath, because quite a lot of Orangemen, of course, suffered at very many different occasions serving in the military.
Yeah, it's a great part of the Orange tradition, really, you know what I mean? As I say, from the Battle of Somme, indeed before, people have laid their lives down for Queen and country and King and country, and this is a part of the ceremony which is very important and often forgotten. I think, people pay attention to various banners and whatever throughout the day, you'll see the great tradition, and there's a great link with veterans, and it's a proud and great part of the day, this.
Well, we'll just leave you a little bit and be slightly respectful here as the Orange Order just tries to remember its dead, and we'll just study here at what's happening.
Freedoms that many citizens around the world can't want anything. Standing at this cenotaph before you, we realise afresh that freedom is not free, it costs. And we reflect humbly at what it costs. As we thank you for the freedoms we enjoy through the sacrifice of others,
so there you see, Arlene, you can see them. They're now just in the middle of the prayers of what's going on here. They're about to lay the wreath, and after that has taken place, all the other districts here in Belfast will join the parade and head off on that very, very long journey through to Shaw's Bridge in South Belfast.
These things have I spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full. This is my
very sombre part of today. It's a very important part of today when the parade stops at the cenotaph to remember those who have lost their lives in various conflicts over the generations. So, Gavin, that is an important part of today, isn't it? Remembering.
It most certainly is, Arlene. The cenotaph was dedicated on the 11th of November 1929, and it has focused extremely heavily in the 12th parades ever since. And it's important to recognise exactly why that's the case. During the First World War, the Ulster Division had 32,000 casualties. Of those 32,000 casualties, nearly 6,000 were suffered on one day on the 1st of July 1916. And just like many households across these islands were getting telegrams notifying of their casualty rate, Northern Ireland and Ulster, the old imperial province of Ulster before partition, was particularly badly hit because we had not only supplied a division, but we'd also supplied 2 brigades in the 16th, the National 16th Irish Division, and the non-aligned 10th Irish Division. And funnily enough, on the 10th of July 1916, in the Ulster Hall behind us, the Orange had a service. Because they lost so many of their brethren.
There were many who went to war wearing their orange sash.
That's it. So there's one particular case of one worshipful Master John Crumlin who actually carries the lodge warrant in his pocket and puts his collarette in his backpack when he goes over the top on the 1st of July. We're not exactly sure how many Orange brethren were actually involved in the First World War. With conservative estimates, maybe 100,000. But when you take it across the Empire and Commonwealth now, there were probably a lot more.
Well, it's good to remember, but we're just going to pause again and have our third little package. This time, it's around the arrival of the Duke of Schomberg in Ireland.
It was on the 13th of August 1689 that Groomsport would witness the arrival of the Williamite army. The Duke of Schomberg would take over 2 weeks unloading the horse, supplies and ammunition, the Dutch dragoons, Huguenots and English infantry.
The Duke of Schomberg, one of the significant characters of this period, arrives in Ireland. A very experienced soldier. He may be almost 80 years of age, but he's cut his teeth in the European wars at the end of the 17th century, and he's dispatched to Ireland to smash the Jacobite forces. There is a small Jacobite garrison holding Carrickfergus Castle, so Groomsport becomes the closest spot in which he can land, and it takes 2 or 3 weeks for him to disembark his soldiers and his supplies. Schomberg moves quickly to take the Jacobite garrison at Carrickfergus. There's a short 10-day siege of that particular fortification, and really Schomberg wants to press south. So he gives terms to the Jacobite defenders that they can march out and head back to their strongholds elsewhere on the island because he wants to capture Belfast Lough. Such is the hostile nature of the local inhabitants towards the Jacobites that actually Schomberg himself has to ride at the head of that Jacobite column with his pistols drawn for fear that the local Protestant inhabitants of Carrickfergus and the hinterland will actually lynch the Jacobites as they try to make their way south. So Schomberg actually has to defend the Jacobite garrison as they leave Carrickfergus and head south. He gets, I suppose, as far as the Dundalk area where he has to make a fortified camp, and then the weather in Ireland closes in. His camp is subject not only to small attacks but also to disease and outbreaks of other aspects that you would associate with 17th century warfare, and as a consequence of that he's forced to retreat back into Ulster to winter quarters in Lisburn, Hillsborough, Banbridge and elsewhere. And this does not go down very well with William, who the following year in June of 1690 feels that the war needs to be ended quickly, and to do that he will lead from the front.
Well, we're expecting the parade with us very shortly, but just before that we're going to have a little break. I'll come back soon.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, I'm Alex Deakin and this is your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. More heavy showers to come today. There'll be some blue sky at times, a fairly cool breeze continuing to blow. We've still got low pressure dominating. It's only slowly pulling away to the northeast, and around it's bands of showers continually feeding in. Some heavy ones today across northern Scotland, particularly parts of Aberdeenshire down to Fife, but also parts of Northern Ireland, southern Scotland seeing some intense showers. And further south, we'll see kind of lines beginnings of showers, so some places having a very wet day, whereas some spots may not see too many and see a bit more in the way of sunshine. There's still a cool breeze blowing though, so temperatures only around or a touch below average, high teens, low 20s at best. And feeling cooler when the showers come along, of which there will still be plenty through this evening. Still some pretty lively ones, the possibility of a rumble of thunder in places, but they do tend to fade as we go through the night, so most places will become dry through the early hours. Some showers keeping going around the west. Temperatures holding up 11 to 14 Celsius. Thursday, well, it is sunshine and showers, but I don't think there'll be as many showers tomorrow. A better chance of seeing a bit more sunshine, particularly initially over central and eastern parts. But even through the day, not as many showers developing. Parts of Wales, southwest England especially, may stay dry. Still some heavy showers to come, particularly in parts of Scotland, and still generally on the cool side, although the winds will be a little lighter tomorrow.
That warm feeling inside. From boxed boilers. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome back to Belfast. Unfortunately, it's just started to rain here, but on the positive side, I can just hear the Miller Memorial Band striking up from the Cenotaph, so they should be with us very shortly. I just wanted to read out some more GB views that you've been sending in. Keep them coming. Let us know what you think of the celebrations today and the background to that through our little packages. Carol says, "Oh my gosh, love it, Arlene. We have an Orange Lodge parade in Southport and then sing God Save the King. Happy Orange Lodge Day." George says, "I'm absolutely delighted to watch the 12th on GB News. Congratulations and well done. This is at a time when other broadcasts have jettisoned any live broadcasts here in Northern Ireland. GB News is the only channel that I watch for honest news coverage." And thank you so much, George. And then a different George says, "Great to see GB News cover the 12th of July parades again today. Thank you very much." Well, Gavin, we could hear the band striking up. They'll be with us shortly. They stopped at the Cenotaph momentarily to honour the war dead,
Yes,
and that's an important part of today. But now the celebration really begins.
This is it. From this point onwards, Arlene, they will move down Bedford Street here, on towards Shaftesbury Square, down towards the Dublin Road, towards Malone Road, and off towards South Belfast and Shaw's Bridge area and Barnett's Domain. And funny enough, the band which is leading the parade, which always leads the Belfast Parade, the Miller Memorial,
Yes.
was founded in Shaw's Bridge in 1911, and it's a very well-known band, and as I say, it always leads the Belfast County demonstration here.
Yes, and they call them the county band, don't they?
do,
because
they
they
do.
always lead. When
Yes.
you see Miller Memorial coming, you know that the parade is beginning. And they're actually followed not by bands from Northern Ireland, but bands from Scotland.
That's right. They have given the honour of leading the band parade to the Scots contingent here. I'm just looking, say, unfortunately, just the rain is, as they say over here, is coming down in stair rods.
Oh, dear.
Unfortunately, so.
I'm glad of our
but-
little gazebo, that's all I
our
can
little
say.
tents. It's very well.
Yeah.
But we will see the white caps of Miller Memorial coming down Bedford Street very shortly, I would say.
Yes, and they'll be followed by, and I don't know whether they have paused for a little moment. They'll be followed by the county officers of Belfast, won't they?
That's right. As with all of the demonstrations today, there's a certain kind of format in the parade. You are led by the county grand officers. Then each district will have its own district officers, and in the district there will be the lodge officers, and the lodges will parade in the districts. So today in Belfast, what we'll see is County Grand Lodge of Belfast parading with the Miller Memorial. Behind them is 7-8 district, and then it should be 9 district, 10 district, and then back to 1, 2, 3, all the way to Ballymacarrot at the end, number 6.
Well, given that it's raining, it makes me think of home, and I was going to go to a little package in Enniskillen, but I think I can see, yes I can see the colour party moving away from City Hall, so we'll just stick with the live pictures.
Yes.
Because I don't want to miss the front of the parade because we've talked a lot about it today. We'll go to the little package on Enniskillen, very important place in Enniskillen for those of you who are watching today.
A lovely castle and a great museum.
Absolutely. But it's very brave of everybody standing out here to watch the parade, because it really is coming down at the moment. Just opened up a few moments ago. We had pretty soft rain before that, but
Yes.
now it's really coming down.
It is indeed, and to be quite honest, what you might also notice is the fact that in the parade, a lot of the bandsmen will be packing their pack-macs and their ponchos, and there might be pauses in the parade whilst they actually go and put those on. It's not
I was
unusual
going to ask you
play.
about that, because there are pauses in the Belfast parade.
Yes.
Because the parade in Belfast is such a long one that people do take a little break, don't they, at some
They
point?
do, because obviously it also goes down to the speed of the marching as well and the walking, depending on the pace and the tempo of the bands. So sometimes a lodge or a district might have to stop to let other lodges catch up with them.
I think we're seeing shots of the front of the parade, and I'm just so sorry that those umbrellas are up there as well, and the umbrellas are sort of blocking part of it. But can you? The colour party in Belfast is very well regarded. They're always very smart, and they take a lot of pride in their marching. You can just see them coming there.
You can,
it's something they train for, and you'll see the colour party coming through there now.
Yes, Brian Stewart, I believe, leads the County Grand colour party there. And of course, we will be seeing the County Grand officers of the Grand Master Spencer Beattie, the Deputy Grand Master William Hughes, the Grand Secretary William Mawhinney, the Grand Treasurer Mervyn Bishop, and the County Grand Chaplain the Reverend Mervyn Gibson.
Yes.
He also happens to be Grand Secretary of the Grand Oran Lodge.
And of course we're live here, and sometimes we'll get a bit of colourful language. I think we got a bit of colourful language a few moments ago, and I do apologise for that, but we're trying to gather up the atmosphere here in Belfast, and
I think there will be the odd bit of Chaucerian vernacular.
Indeed. And we're just seeing the colour party coming towards us now as the rain comes down upon us, and they're followed by Miller Memorial Flute Band, a very well regarded band here in Belfast, and I hope that they're going to strike up, Gavin.
I hope they will
as they come past us.
The drum major of the Miller Memorial is Alan Johnston. As you say, a very, very fine band indeed. That's conductor James Miller. And it'll be interesting for our audience to listen out to the kind of tunes that the parade will be playing.
Here they come. Oh, they're going to start. Great.
That's the first of our Scots bands there, Arlene, coming through.
The Govan Brothers and Boys, the first Scottish band that's here today. And we were just talking about the Psalm, and their banner is showing a picture from the Psalm.
It is. It's the first day of the Psalm, the first advance of the 36th Ulster Division. That, I think, is the George Telford Memorial Lodge there coming through. And St. Paul's Church Defenders coming up here as well. And you mentioned Rutherglen before, and here's Rutherglen coming past us now.
And that lodge is from North Belfast, is that correct, Gavin?
It is. In fact, you notice that it has St. Paul's Church on the front, and on the back it has the King William Landing at Carrickfergus. Now, coming up is the Coot Memorial, and that's a very important lodge in this particular demonstration because they have their new banner on display. And it is believed to be the very first digitally printed banner. And of course, it is also probably the very first banner to have Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II on it. And we can see that coming up now.
Indeed, there it is. Doing a bit, yes. So that's Coot Memorial. I had the pleasure of meeting with some of their members down in Rossnowla in County Donegal last Saturday, where they brought their new banner out for the first time. So it's good to see them here today.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
And now District number 9 will be parading for us.
That's District number 9 coming out.
Yes. Appears to be district number 2, so
there's some recognition there from the Shankill. They're out in force today. It's good to see them.
There's the McMullen Memorial Lodge coming past there as well. And on the back of their banner is the Garden of Gethsemane. So again, that draws the whole sort of religious element and aspect of today's proceedings.
Yes, so sometimes the front of the banner will have one aspect of Orangeism and the back of the banner will have a different aspect.
It will, right? It will. I mean, 9 times out of 10 you'll get either a scene from the Williamite Wars or the First World War, or actually a noted member of the lodge who has passed away and they decide to rename the lodge in their honour.
Who's this coming now then, Gavin?
I think we're going to get...
Very colourful uniform.
More
yeah.
Cool, yes. Lodge 739, West Belfast.
As we said before, Gavin, this is a live broadcast, so we're carrying all of the aspects of today. We had a bit of colourful language a bit earlier again, and I do apologise to viewers for that. But hopefully, we're going to see the sights and sounds in terms of the music as it goes along.
Very much so. I mean, the crowds are really beginning to come and swell on Bedford Street here now.
Oh, this is quite a famous band, White Rock.
It is. strains of Goodbye Dolly Gray. Fear God, honour the Queen.
There's the ladies out again.
That's right. And if you see buses going up down Bedford Street, that will be with the lodge members and the band members' equipment, taking it all the way up to Barnet's Domain. And of course, some of the wider cars and limousines are for the older brethren who may not be able to walk as far.
And these are the younger brethren that we're seeing now.
Yes. In costumes very reminiscent of the Ulster crisis of 1912.
Yes, it's sort of Peaky Blinder look, as I call it.
Yes. As the band of Shankill Old Boys go past.
Yes, indeed. This is more of a melody flute band, a beautiful sound.
And Lodge 1963, Glenavy going past there.
So there's a great atmosphere here at the minute, Gavin.
There is. And as we were saying earlier, the majority of bands who we'll see will be flute and pipe and drum, effectively. Which, of course, mirrors the tradition of the Williamite armies and the Jacobite armies with the pipe and drum. Coming up here is a band from Cumbernauld.
We're still in Shankill District, I think.
We are. Still District number 9.
Yes. This is us moving now into Balnafie District.
That's right, District number 10. District number 10, created in 1896. Llanelli Apprentice Boys was formed in 1900 as one of the oldest bands on parade today. And they're playing Killaloe, which is the regimental march of the Royal Irish Regiment. And if you hear a big yo in the middle of that, it's traditional to give a chant.
Is Killaloe really Killaloe without the yo?
Exactly.
And there's a very smart band here.
It is.
I always love to see all of the different types of uniform on display.
Well, again, you'll notice that many of the colours are always very deeply symbolic. The Derry Crimson, as they call this colour coming up now, which is sort of a maroony red. And this band is coming from Bangor, which is for our audience across the water, is not very far away from Belfast, about 12 miles northwards on the coast.
Okay. The top of the hour news now with Tatiana Sanchez.
Arlene, thank you very much. This is the latest from the GB newsroom. Pressures mounting on the BBC with fresh allegations against an unnamed presenter. Our Home and Security editor, Mark White, is at Broadcasting House in London. Mark, what can you tell us?
Well, since this story broke in the Sun newspaper last Friday, there have now been 4 sets of allegations relating to 4 separate people. But the BBC itself, in the form of senior management, are unable to investigate those allegations because they have been told by the Metropolitan Police to cease, to halt all of their internal investigations while the Metropolitan Police looks at the possibility of launching an investigation into whether a criminal offence took place with regard to the first allegations that were reported on Friday. And all the while that is happening, former BBC presenter John Sopel has come out this morning on his podcast and said that the unnamed presenter is very angry, that they believe that the Sun newspaper is just now digging for dirt with a view to continuing to damage his reputation. But having said that, another presenter, a BBC presenter, Jeremy Vine, has said on his Channel 5 programme that he believes it's time for his colleague to come out. However damaging and however painful that might be, that it is very damaging to the BBC and time for this presenter to step forward and speak publicly.
Mark White there, thank you very much. Our Home and Security editor outside of Broadcasting House with the latest. The Bank of England are warning nearly 1 million mortgage holders in the UK will see their monthly repayments jump by £500 or more by the end of 2026. Mortgage rates have now hit their highest level in 15 years, surpassing figures seen in the aftermath of last year's mini-budget. The central bank says the UK's 8 major banks are sturdy enough to handle a fresh economic crisis. It also said that the country has so far been resilient to rapidly rising interest rates, but some households and firms may struggle with repayments on loans. Ukraine's President Zelensky has arrived at the NATO summit to meet leaders as the gathering's second day continues. He's held talks with the Prime Minister and will join leaders for an inaugural session of the NATO-Ukraine Council, a day after they confirmed his country will become a member of the alliance. All members of the G7 are set to sign a long-term security arrangement with Ukraine later that Rishi Sunak says has the potential to return peace to Europe. President Zelensky will also meet with his US counterpart Joe Biden as he seeks more arms and ammunition from the US. He spoke of his priorities at the summit.
Today, what we hear and understand that we'll have this invitation when security measures will allow. Yes, so I want to discuss with our partners all these things, and the sword will speak today and fight for this. Its security guarantees.
Teachers in England have voted in favour of strike action in an ongoing dispute over pay. Nearly 9 out of 10 teacher members of the NAS-UWT union who voted in the ballot backed walkouts. The union, which passed the 50% ballot threshold, says it plans to stage continuous industrial action starting in September. Strike dates in the autumn term will also be considered and coordinated with other unions where possible. You're with GB News. We'll bring you more news as it happens. Now it's time for a look at the weather.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, I'm Alex Deakin and this is your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. More heavy showers to come today. There'll be some blue sky at times, a fairly cool breeze continuing to blow. We've still got low pressure dominating. It's only slowly pulling away to the northeast, and around it's bands of showers continually feeding in. Some heavy ones today across northern Scotland, particularly parts of Aberdeenshire down to Fife, but also parts of Northern Ireland, southern Scotland seeing some intense showers. And further south, we'll see kind of lines of showers, so some places having a very wet day, whereas some spots may not see too many and see a bit more in the way of sunshine. There's still a cool breeze blowing though, so temperatures only around or a touch below average, high teens, low 20s at best. And feeling cooler when the showers come along, of which there will still be plenty through this evening. Still some pretty lively ones, the possibility of a rumble of thunder in places, but they do tend to fade as we go through the night, so most places will become dry through the early hours. Some showers keeping going around the west. Temperatures holding up 11 to 14 Celsius. Thursday, well, it is sunshine and showers, but I don't think there'll be as many showers tomorrow. A better chance of seeing a bit more sunshine, particularly initially over central and eastern parts. But even through the day, not as many showers developing. Parts of Wales, southwest England especially may stay dry. Still some heavy showers to come, particularly in parts of Scotland, and still generally on the cool side, although the winds will be a little lighter tomorrow.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Welcome back to the 12th of July Parade here in Belfast. We're very much well underway now, and indeed we're district number 2 going past.
And here we see Tynedale Lodge with William Tynedale on the front, and on the back is Belfast Orange Hall.
And it's again lovely to see some of the ladies on parade today. It's a long walk.
It is 6.4 miles. It is a long walk. Of course, there are 116 lodges on parade, 50 bands, and 8,000 on parade today as well. So, as you can see in a very small city square like this,
yes,
there's an awful lot of colour and vibrancy.
Yeah, and of course we shouldn't forget that there are 18 demonstrations taking place right across Northern Ireland today.
There are indeed. And I would be very remiss of me if I didn't mention Loch Brickland and County Down.
Loch Brickland is your home parish, is it?
It is. So we're just seeing District Number 3 about to come down Bedford Street now. There's a slight pause in the parade.
Yes, indeed.
And interesting, just as we were going there, one of the lodges there was 533 Whitewell Temperance, and it's very well known for having on the back of its banner the Princess Victoria, which of course was a terrible disaster on the 31st of January 1953, and the Princess Victoria went down within sight of the Northern Irish coastline with the loss of 133 lives.
I think we're now going to go and see what Dougie Beattie, our Northern Ireland reporter, is up to with, of course, the wonderful Charlie Lusk.
Yes, hello Arlene, and welcome to the junction of Linnenhall Street and Ormeau Avenue. You join us here, and the weather has definitely not dampened spirits because the crowds are out here in their thousands. I mean, tell us a little bit about what you find around.
I can hardly hear you, Dougie, but a great atmosphere as usual, and people from all over the planet, as you'll see through the day. And I was just spotted a couple of wee girls here. Hey girls, how are you?
Hello, all right, yeah.
Where have you come from?
We're from Broxburn.
Right, brilliant. And when did you get over?
Last night, Monday last night.
And do you know anybody here today, any of the bands?
Yeah.
Who do you know?
The Govan bands.
The Govan band, yeah. Have they been through yet?
Yes, they've been through, yeah.
Brilliant. So what are your plans? Are you going to follow the way up to the field and then come back, or?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Well, it's good to see you, and of course, it's all this is huge. Unionism, Orangeism, loyalism is huge in Scotland, and I know you're very proud to be here.
Yes, 100%.
Well, we're proud to have you too.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Well, there you go, all over the UK.
Yeah, interesting, and we've seen coming further in the day Canadian bands and bands from all over, and we met a couple earlier on from Toronto last night in Kilkeel, so a splendid day, and we're only just starting out, so we'll be back to you, Arlene. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Charlie, to see what you two get up to during the parade today. If you hear people shouting out my name, as they are at the minute, it's because they have recognised that I'm here with GB News, bringing you this live broadcast today. Continue to be joined by Dr. Gavin Hughes, who's giving us the historical context of some of the banners that are going past today.
Well, we've seen a number of districts going past already, Arlene, and we're currently in the middle of things. More of the Belfast district number 3. And the band playing there is from Whitewell. And of course, the interesting thing about Whitewell is saying a few moments ago that their banner mentions Princess Victoria disaster, but it was also formed in 1952. So in the year that Her Majesty came to the throne, Whitewell Lodge 553 was also formed. And on the banner behind us, we obviously see the image of Queen Victoria, a very, very important monarch in this city. And so as Queen Victoria Memorial Temperance passes us, if we're lucky we might get to see Royal York, which is one of the oldest lodges on parade today.
its members. Lord Dennis Rogan, I think he's a member of York Lodge. There's a lot of young people going to be very tired tonight, Gavin.
Very, very tired legs. And here comes the Prince Albert Temperance Lodge. And funny enough, it was actually formed in 1888 from members of the Royal York Lodge. We had so many members, they decided to make 2 lodges.
Ah. Somebody coming in the front of this lodge actually waving a flag from Wales. So
yes,
one can only assume that they're from Wales.
Well, I was going to say it's nice to see Draig on display there. It's sort of, and I don't know if our audience heard earlier, there's a strains of Men of Harlech coming through, so there's a. Well, it's nice to see the Welsh flag on display here as well.
Again, underlining, of course, that this is a United Kingdom story that we're telling today, and some of the packages that we were talking about really underlined that today, didn't it?
They do, and they draw the continuity of, as the Orange Institution likes to say, this is all part of the faith, the loyalty, and the state. So it is the old the old idea, if you like, of the kingdoms, the unity of kingdoms, and obviously we'll see here King William again on Glen Cairns banner. And of course this all goes back to the glorious revolution of November 1688 and the Convention Parliament.
I'm going to use this little break in the parade. Oh, maybe I'll not, because I thought I had a bit of silence there. I was going to bring you some GB views, but instead we're going to listen to this quite noisy band, but I'm sure it's going to be good. Great.
And there's the man himself, King William. In the parade as well.
Well, that was the Shankill Protestant Boys, a very well-known band. It would have been very remiss of me if I'd have talked over that parade today. I hope we're going to have a little chat soon with one of our members of Parliament who has just came across to have a word with us. Gavin Robinson has popped by. His lodge doesn't come towards the end of the parade, so he's taken the time to come and have a chat with us. But first of all, we're going to go over to Northern Ireland reporter Dougie Beattie, who's out and about with Charlie Lawson.
Well, Arlene, welcome to this part of Belfast. We're not actually that far away from you, but there is quite literally thousands of people lining the route here. And Charlie and I have found it quite amazing what a complete selection of people there are, and they've come from far and wide, and some very, very colourful characters.
Here's the This young lady now, you're live on GB News. Where are you from, darling? Newtonabbey.
Yep.
And have you come to see anyone in particular, any band in particular, just for the day?
Hopefully the CYC, Crawford and Young Conquerors.
And you, who say again?
Crawford and Young Conquerors.
Young Conquerors.
Yeah.
And this is your young lad, eh?
That's my young lad.
You enjoying yourself?
Yeah.
Your daddy?
Yeah.
How are you, mate? All right? All going well? Thank you so much. Have a cracking day.
Yes, you too. Enjoy your 12.
See you soon. Yeah, there's a great bunch of people here today. I can't wait. We've only come about 300 yards.
I know, and the sound here of these drums is amazing as it reflects over every hard building as it comes through. I know that you are struggling with it yourselves, but lucky enough we're actually standing just at a junction.
We found a junction, so the noise is slightly less, makes it a bit more bearable for you, because it's bloody noisy.
But there's some real characters here, few sombreros in there, so you never know, we might pop up later on with...
Yeah, you never know who we'll bump into, let me tell you.
Okay, boys, it's good to see you out and about. I'm really pleased to say I'm joined by Gavin Robinson, who's a Member of Parliament for East Belfast. Gavin, it's really good to have you on the programme. A rather noisy place to be, but why are you on parade today?
It's lovely to have you and GB News here and all those viewers across the UK. It's great to have you here with us. Today's a really special day in the calendar. We celebrate the Glorious Revolution, we celebrate the Bill of Rights, we celebrate all that was good in our country. This is a Christian demonstration, it's a political demonstration, it's a historic demonstration, and it's colour and it's pageantry and it's fun. So here we are, we're about 3 miles in already and we haven't started yet, so there you go.
I know you've another 6 miles to do from here, essentially, isn't that right?
Yeah, so we come over from East Belfast, that's the start of it. Our band this year, look out for them, Pride of Govan. It's their 40th anniversary. They have switched from a black uniform to a full tartan ensemble, so they're doing really well. They're a lovely band. I also met the Pollock Flute Band from Glasgow. They were over this morning in East Belfast. I gave them a plaque for their 40th year as well. There's a great affinity across the REC with a lot of friends that come over every year to celebrate the 12th in Belfast.
And indeed international visitors as well, coming over from Canada, from New Zealand, from Australia. They make the visit as well during the 12th.
It's wonderful. There's such a Commonwealth connection, normally represented here in Belfast, but there are parades right throughout Northern Ireland. 18 parades, 600 bands, and representatives right throughout the world. And yes, Canada gets a mention, New Zealand gets a mention, but Togo gets a mention too. They're all part of the rich tapestry that makes us what we are.
So it's good fun sitting here because I'm getting shouted at all of the time, but it's all in good nature, and I think that's what today's all about, having fun, celebrating and being with your family.
It's wonderful. It's a family day. There are people that you don't see from one year to the next, and it's always warm.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
It's always warm, it never rains.
Never rains, never dampens our spirits.
Well, listen, Gavin, I'm going to let you go because I know you want to get back on parade, but it's really good of you to stop by GB News today. Thanks so much.
Lovely to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's back to the parade then.
So Arlene, district number 4 are coming through here. Cave Hill Temperance. There's Look. As I said, you just cannot not try to go.
Yes, exactly. And there's the ladies all put out. Oh, hi. The ladies in their purple today. Of course, purple and orange is very much part of the colour scheme,
one of the colour schemes, yes. And you will also see blue on display as well. In some of the colourettes, you will see a blue. Well, there's one coming up here. Usually a lodge will apply for discretion to have a blue colourette. Again, it's personal preference preference for the lodges really rather than that. But there's
and it's
traditional
quite
colours.
distinctive, some of the collarettes.
And one other thing which you'll also notice is these are collarettes, not sashes.
Yes.
And some lodges in Belfast, I think, still do wear the sash. We will see them, no doubt, when we pass by.
I'm going to take the opportunity during this little break to read out some more of your GB views. I've had a little message from Shirley saying it's part of the history of Great Britain and the UK, and one which I knew very little about. Thank you, GB News. Della is saying brilliant coverage and great historic information. I am the first Sassenach in my mum's Scottish family of Orangemen. As a kid, I stood in awe of a near full-size man on a horse in my aunt's council house in Kirktilloch. I hope I've said that right. Kirktilloch. And only recently found out from my cousin it's William of Orange. Sheila says, I'm proud British English lady, but had no idea about the history and background to the 12th other than from the angle of unrest and separation, which has been the norm on TV over the years. We should have more of this history taught in schools. Thank you. And here's Jerry. Arlene has an English skin, that means from Enniskillen. I would like to say a big hello to all my skins, comrades and friends all over the world on this important day. And of course that's with reference to the Skins Regiment.
Yes, the Royal Enniskillen Fusiliers.
Absolutely. And Helen says, thank you for showing the 12th parade. I've lived in Northern Ireland for over 40 years. People here are so proud to be British, and by showing the 12th, you give people in England an understanding of the history of the 12th. And there's somebody celebrating in Alicante, and somebody celebrating in Brixham, where William of Orange landed.
Absolutely, in November 1688. And we've got Sandy Row, district number 5, coming through now, Arlene. So we just see the banneret for Sandy Row Women's District number 1.
I always feel a very deep affinity to Sandy Row because, of course, that's where my grandmother was from. And it's great to see Sandy Row out. Stoker, former councillor from Belfast City Council there from Sandy Row on parade today.
And here we see the naval lodges coming up from Sandy Row. Naval Lodge number 673.
Bridgeton Loyalist Band there.
That's right, just marking time as the bits of the parade sort of catch up with other parts of the parade here. And the Sandy Row district is one of the larger districts and one of the most attractive and vibrant. The Women's Association, the Women's Lodges at Sandy Row are very strong. A bit of a drummer's call going on there.
I think that is something I should apologise for again.
Yes.
Unfortunately, when some people see the television cameras, they feel the need.
They feel the need to shout out. Now, one of the bands which will be coming into view very shortly, our audience will be looking to see exactly the similarities between various bands across the country. Well, one here has obviously taken its style from the Royal Marines.
Ah.
And the second you see it, Arlene, you will say, aha.
I
recognise that.
No, this is very smart. This is from Oh My. I know this band very well.
It's a very famous band.
Yes, they are.
I think a prize-winning band.
Yes, indeed.
And here are the strains of Men of Harlech.
The Men of Harlech, isn't that just lovely? And I hope all our Welsh listeners and viewers are watching that. This is a big district, Gavin, isn't it? You can see in the numbers on parade here today.
There are 22 lodges within the district.
Well, the parade continues here with Gavin Hughes and I commenting on it, but I think we're going to go now and see what our Northern Ireland reporter Dougie Beattie, who's out and about with Charlie Lawson, is doing on the streets of Belfast.
Yes, hello Arlene. We are indeed, we're at Sandy Row. The very bands that's passing us now. This is where we started off this morning in the Barrington Club. This is a very loyal area, very working class area of Belfast, and this is their lodges coming behind them.
Yeah, just coming through now, Dougie, and that's one of my locals down there, the Royals. So we've just actually saying that we have a huge Scottish contingent here today, which is great to see, and we've got some girls here. How are you?
Oh, good.
When did you get here last night?
Last night, 7:30 over for Kieran Ryan.
Is there a particular band you're waiting to see?
Them all.
Them all. Did you have a good day today, girls?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
All the very best.
Well, that is as much as we can actually hear at this point. Oh, they're all out celebrating one another. So we've got company all around us. Harmless company. Yeah, we're live on air.
Oh yeah, oh right, sorry.
Yeah, we're on GBNews.
I love GBNews. I watch all the time. I fucking love it. And I love Britain.
Okay.
I love the UK.
Right, yeah, good man.
Get out of that.
Sorry about the language there. This is just sorry about the language, but you can imagine the crowd that is here. It is huge.
So that's Dougie out and about there, and again we do apologise for the language. People are out and about today and enjoying themselves, and sometimes the language slips into the vernacular, and we apologise for that. But I'm here with Gavin Hughes watching the parade as it goes by. Gavin, which district are we up to now?
We are still in Sandy Row.
Oh, we're still in Sandy Row. Okay.
There are 22 lodges in Sandy Row because it's one, so obviously it's a huge part of the parade. Very much so. the band from South Belfast finishes its playing The Minstrel Boy.
And of course there'll be crowds the whole way up to the field, but here in the Belfast City Centre we see a lot of people milling about.
This is where most people tend to congregate, really. I mean, obviously the parade route goes all the way to Shaw's Bridge, but this up to Shaftesbury Square at the top of this road is pretty much where most of the crowd will congregate. Because you're right, there'll be crowds all the way up to the get their best best viewpoint. That's the third time we've heard Dolly Gray. It's very popular this year.
We should try and work out which is the most popular tune that we're hearing today. And I think it's probably winning at the minute.
I haven't heard Lily Bolero once yet.
No, there you go. There's a lodge turned out in purple shirts.
Purple shirts.
Yeah, normally you see the men in their white shirts, but they've decided to go for purple. It's quite... And there's Lee Reynolds. Lee, of course, was my special advisor when I was First Minister. And he was also councillor in Belfast City Council, so it's good to see him.
You'll see there that Sandy Road True Blues have not tied their banner to the thing else, but it's obviously it's a bit windy today.
Yeah.
And you don't want the banners to be torn, so it's better how they feel.
Yeah.
So some lodges will have it tied down, some lodges won't.
But it is quite windy today, and those banners are quite difficult to carry in the wind.
They are. There's your County Monaghan True Blues, the first Monaghan Presbyterian Church on the front of their banner.
Very nice indeed.
Marching with Sandy Road District number 5.
And you see Private McFadgen at the front of this band, of course, again, he was a VC holder.
The very first VC of the 1st of July.
Yeah.
Private McFadgen threw himself in a box of grenades and saved his comrades in a slip trench. Whilst they were priming the grenades to go off to the assault in the first wave for the bombers, because he was a bomber, and he knew that the pin flew out of the grenade as they were packing the grenades up, and he knew simply that he didn't do something that many casualties would occur, so he threw himself on top of the box of grenades.
And we should say, of course, that that band was from Glasgow. And I think the rain is going to set in again, Gavin. And again, we're very pleased to have the gazebo here on GB News to keep us dry. But it looks as if most of the Orange men are prepared for the rain in any event.
They seem to be.
And I love to see the orange lilies that are attached to either big bass drums or flags, and this is very nice, isn't it, Gavin?
Well, that's right. I mean, it's traditionally rural and country areas to have the orange lilies on the front of a lambeg. Now, we will not be seeing lambeg drums in this parade. And I did hear somebody complaining to me the other day that their orange lilies had already been and gone. And normally
the orange lilies, I'm afraid, were very early this year. Mostly May and June. And there's the Lord Carson Memorial just passing us now. I mean, Lord Carson was a huge figure, obviously, and still is in tradition here in Northern Ireland.
And what you'll also see, of course, is Carson and Craig, the first Prime Minister of Northern Ireland, signing the Covenant. That is also depicted on quite a lot of the banners and bannerets.
There's a sort of a wind tunnel effect coming up Bedford Street at the moment. I feel sorry for some of the marchers.
I think Bedford Street does have a bit of a reputation. When the wind gets up, it is almost like a wind tunnel.
Of course, the Ulster Special Constabulary Lodge is just coming now. And I think we're also going to go and speak to Dougie Beattie, who's out and about on the streets. Dougie.
Well, hello, Arlene. Hello, girls. How are you?
Hello, thank you. Great.
How does it feel today to be out and about in the parades? I mean, what's the most important thing about these parades?
Everything. Our culture, our beliefs, and something has to change. Stop being negative about the culture of the Ulster people.
Do you know how about?
We're often looked down upon because there are clips, and you know the clips I mean, that are shown on TV. And I just think it's important to meet 5 absolutely adorable women who are having a grand day.
A beautiful day, the best day of the year in Northern Ireland.
It is. It's lovely to see you. And you were saying something interesting earlier on.
But Charlie, I mean, over the years where we lived, the Catholic community all come out to watch the bands. We're a mixed family. Our family are all mixed, Protestant and Catholic. They were all with us last night. A lot of them are here today.
Yep.
This is culture. This is not about offending anybody. And stop the negative from Sinn Féin, who are trying with all their power to put everything against us. We're not out to annoy anybody. We're out to celebrate our culture, to have fun and family. And that's what it's all about. People, along here, we have met people for the last 30 years. Still the same people. Is anybody offending anybody? No. It's fun and lovely culture.
Well, there you go.
To see you here.
It is all about culture, Charlie. And of course, this was the birth of the United Kingdom. The Williamite Wars was, of course, what really started the Bank of England, the Bill of Rights, the formation of the judiciary, and mainly
it's a huge history that really we should look into more. And I would encourage all people out there to have a look and just delve into it, because it's a huge part of our culture. And well, I am touched to be here today as usual, and I know Dougie is as well.
Yeah, well, that's us from this part of town, and we'll hopefully try and get another little hit very shortly.
Okay, boys, thank you very much. It's good to see you out and about, and we're very glad, Charlie, that you're with us as well. Well, I'm here with Dr. Gavin Hughes on Bedford Street. The parade is passing us by, and there's another band passing behind me. Who are we seeing now, Gavin?
Well, what we're seeing now is Ballymacarrock District number 6, which is the largest, 25 lodges with around 820 brethren bands and parading. So you'll see that Ballymacarrock has some beautiful uniforms on display here for the London Som Association.
Yeah, want me help you there? Want me help?
And here we see Pride of the Hill car running, bands playing.
There you go.
Appropriately playing the green grassy slopes of the Boyne. And Garva Heroes being played there as well.
So this is East Belfast now. We're moving
so
across
we've moved across from all parts of the compass on Belfast today, and we're finishing off with East Belfast and what's known as Ballymacarrock number 6.
So do we think, is this the last district then?
This is the last district, but it is one of the largest.
It's one of the largest, so it'll take some time to get through. And I just look at some of those young people today and I think, my goodness, they will have tired feet tonight.
They most certainly will. In fact, actually, we can see what starts at the parade is the young lads with a baton, or the young girls with a baton. They're practicing their skills as well. It's always a traditional element of the Belfast parade and many other parades across the province today.
There are many young people on parade today right across Northern Ireland, but I always think the Belfast one is, because it's the longest, it must be the toughest for those young people. But of course, it's very exciting to be on parade when you're a young person.
When you're a young person, this is the excitement builds as the July goes forward, and yes, the building excitement and wanting to be part of this parade with their peer group as well, their mums maybe in the Women's Association and their dads or their brothers, whoever it might be, in the Orange Lodges which are parading today. I'm just actually keeping a weather eye out for the Thomas Andrews Memorial Lodge, which of course is to commemorate Thomas Andrews, the architect and designer of the Titanic. So it is the only banner which you'll see which has the Titanic on it, and that is why.
Yeah. I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, the Pride of the Raven. I might be wrong about that.
I think it is. Fairly distinguishable in their bright scarlet tunics and their diced cap bands.
Oh no, it's Gertrude Starr.
Gertrude Starr.
I better make that correction because there's huge competition, as you will know, between these bands. Yes.
From Major government top and black kilt. And the caps very reminiscent of the Scots Guards.
Yes, Gertrude Starr, very well known band from East Belfast, and lovely to hear them today.
I think that the Pride of the Raven will be coming up soon.
Some of the Orange men are struggling now with these banners because of the wind that's really taken hold here.
Yes, well, there's a lot coming up to Luther Lodge who are dancing with their banner, which is also a bit of a struggle in this wind, I would say.
Well, you know it's windy, you might as well go with it.
You might as well go with it. And here's the missile coming down. Just coming past us now, Cook's Defenders, a very well-known lodge in Ballymacarrick district. The Cook Memorial, the famous black man.
Sydenham, of course, is an area of East Belfast where that band is from, so it's good to see them. It's quite a distinctive collarette there.
It is, isn't it?
And we were talking about the differences in the collarettes.
Yes.
We're going to go back, if I'm right, to Dougie, Beattie and Charlie. They're out and about on the streets of Belfast, and Oh, we're not going to go to Dougie. I'm sorry about that for one last hit. I thought we were going to see him. We're coming to the end of our time with you, but I just wanted to let you experience the sights and the sounds. And unfortunately, some of the sights is the rain again.
I know, this sort of, we need sometimes a bit of a telescope at the moment because it's coming down like a bit of a mist, but it doesn't seem to dampen the spirits of the bandsmen or the people watching.
We saw some of the people with the banner dancing.
I know.
There.
That could defend it.
Oh, good news. We are going to go to Dougie for one last time with Charlie. Dougie, are you there?
We are, Arlene, we are here indeed. And the rain is coming down in sheets for sure. Charlie, who have we got with us?
Well, we've got. Where are you from?
Carrickfergus.
Lovely family from Carrick. Enjoying your day so far, apart from getting absolutely foundered.
Apart from the rain, yeah.
How are you two enjoying? You good?
Yeah.
Have you come to see anyone in particular, or just come out for the day?
Day, yeah.
And why not Carrick today? Are they all here? They've all come here from Carrick?
Some are here and some are then in the country parade, yes.
Yeah, brilliant. And where will you go after this? I mean, presumably if you're not blown away.
Somewhere nice for food.
You're going to go somewhere to eat. That's nice. Well, look, it's lovely to see you both.
Thank you very much.
As well.
Thank you.
Enjoying your day. That's the girl. Well, we'll see you over the next few years, God willing, eh?
Yes.
Nice to see you. Take care.
Well, Charlie, this is really the last of our hits today. I'm somewhat glad because the rain is really starting to get us quite wet. But I mean, what was the highlights of today for you?
I think just being back. I mean, Kilkeel last night was great, and last year Armagh, and we've got an awful lot of places to cover over the next few years. But Belfast really is the sort of the beating heart of it all. It's the biggest, and some would say the best. But as I say, there's places. There's lovely girls here from Carrick. We haven't been to Carrick yet. Next year, we haven't been down to Skillen, but all these places wait for us next year. So thanks very much, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed the crack. And if anybody was out of order, sir, we apologise.
Definitely apologise, any out of order language. But you know what? They are going to go on and party on into the night. And tomorrow, of course, is the Black Day. But thanks for joining us.
So you joined us. Thanks, boys, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Lodge 747 is just passing by, which includes many politicians.
It does. Young Men's Christian Total Abstinence.
Yeah.
747. I saw a former Minister of Education going past
Lord
there.
Peter Weir was carrying the banner.
Yes. Which, trust me, today will be very, very difficult.
It's actually becoming very difficult now for the paraders because of the wind and the rain. Oh my goodness. But people are still going. Still going. We're coming towards the end of our time with our GB viewers and listeners. It's been a wonderful day, despite the rain, despite the wind. It's been good to be here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Arlene, for having me. And from a very wet, blustery Belfast.
Away from a blustery Belfast. Up next, it's the live desk with Mark and Pip. But I just wanted to let you see some of the sights and sounds before we go. So it's a damp day here in Belfast. It's turning out to be rather wet, but it hasn't dampened the spirits of us all. Now it's over to the live desk with Mark and Pip. But first of all, let's go to the weather.
A brighter outlook with Boxed Solar. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, I'm Alex Deakin and this is your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. More heavy showers to come today. There'll be some blue sky at times, a fairly cool breeze continuing to blow. We've still got low pressure dominating. It's only slowly pulling away to the northeast, and around it's bands of showers continually feeding in. Some heavy ones today across northern Scotland, particularly parts of Aberdeenshire down to Fife, but also parts of Northern Ireland, southern Scotland seeing some intense showers. And further south, we'll see kind of lines of showers, so some places having a very wet day, whereas some spots may not see too many and see a bit more in the way of sunshine. There's still a cool breeze blowing though, so temperatures only around or a touch below average, high teens, low 20s at best. And feeling cooler when the showers come along, of which there will still be plenty through this evening. Still some pretty lively ones, the possibility of a rumble of thunder in places, but they do tend to fade as we go through the night, so most places will become dry through the early hours. Some showers keeping going around the west. Temperatures holding up 11 to 14 Celsius. Thursday, well, it is sunshine and showers, but I don't think there'll be as many showers tomorrow. A better chance of seeing a bit more sunshine, particularly initially over central and eastern parts. But even through the day, not as many showers developing. Parts of Wales, southwest England especially may stay dry. Still some heavy showers to come, particularly in parts of Scotland, and still generally on the cool side, although the winds will be a little lighter tomorrow.
A brighter outlook with Boxed Solar. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.